We ask all commenters to begin by stating your name and relationship to Minneapolis Public Schools. Keep comments within the 2-minute limit or 4 minutes if using an interpreter. Do not mention identifiable information about individual staff members or students, and do not use profanity, insults, or threats. If these guidelines cannot be followed, I will provide a warning, and if needed, I will turn off the microphone and interject your comment time. And finally, please remember that this is an opportunity for the board to hear from the public, so we will not respond in the moment to comments or questions. Staff, however, may follow up or connect with you based on your comments. Jennifer Davis, will you please come to the podium and begin your comments? Is Jennifer Davis here? Is there anyone here who wishes to comment on the proposed all right. Is there anyone here who wishes to propose to comment on the proposed property tax levy? Seeing no one, we will close the tax levy comment and move to the other comments. Ian Buck, will you please come to the podium and begin your comments?
Good evening, board members. My name is Ian Buck. I'm at the Minneapolis Online School. I'm here to speak about divesting Minneapolis Public Schools funds from fossil fuel companies. This is a topic that I became aware of earlier this spring when St. Paul Public Schools started pursuing that as an approach for decarbonizing our school districts. And I was very, very pleasantly surprised by how easy and straightforward of a process it was for them. I spoke with Uriah Ward, who is one of their school board members, about it, and it took about 9 or 10 months from start to finish of starting the conversation, asking the SPPS staff, would this work? Can we do this? Talking with the bank that manages their funds and everything, and writing up a resolution and passing it. So, as a teacher who will eventually be benefiting from some funds that MPS has for other post-employment benefits, I would really rather the money that I'm receiving not come from sources that are at the expense of our students' futures and ability to continue living on this planet. And since it was such an easy process for SPPS, and they're not giving up their rate of return on their investments, I think this is a no-brainer, a really low-hanging fruit that we can do to just do our little part. Thank you.
Megan Troyer.
Hello, my name is Megan Troyer, and I'm a school psychologist and MPSS lead at Bryn Mawr Elementary School. I'm also the parent of a Minneapolis Public Schools student. I presented to this board last winter about the success we've had at Bryn Mawr with implementing evidence-based small group interventions for struggling students in an MTSS model. However, last spring, after 2 rounds of budget cuts, we had to cut one of our interventionists to part-time, cut my MTSS position to 0.5, amongst other cuts. We had the capacity, the people, the training, and the tools to meet students' academic intervention needs, but our capacity was cut along with our budget. So I was surprised to learn that this board recently approved $3 million to pay 2 private firms to provide virtual tutoring to students in need of academic intervention this school year. This program, which MPS is calling high-dosage tutoring, will pull students away from their teachers and put them in front of a computer for 30 to 60 minutes 3 times per week to work with an online virtual tutor who doesn't know them, whose training and qualifications are unclear, using methods that are unspecified. Nothing about this is best practice. So I'm troubled that instead of investing in MPS staff by funding and training interventionists in our schools, or using the money to expand any of the intervention models, or tutoring programs already being used successfully in various Minneapolis schools such as Reading Core, Math Core, Reading Partners, Press, Grows, to name a few. Instead, this board would give away $3 million to outsource academic support to private agency online. Although the contract awarding these two agencies $1.5 million each for this school year alone has already been approved, I urge the board at the end of this contract to not outsource academic support for our students moving forward. Thank you.
Hi, Robert. Thank you.
Robert.
Hello, my name is Robert Zabrowski. I'm a third grade teacher at Hall Elementary and a North resident. The Minneapolis Police Department maintains a culture where MPD officers consistently use racist, misogynistic, and disrespectful language and are rarely held accountable. MPD uses covert social media to target black leaders, black organizations, and elected officials without a public safety objective. MPD provides deficient training and guidance for its officers, which exacerbates a pattern of discriminatory race-based policing. Officers are not held accountable because of ineffective accountability and oversight systems that contribute to a pattern of discriminatory policing. These findings are just some highlights from the Minnesota Department of Human Rights April report released in the Minneapolis Police Department. It's hard for me to even imagine Minneapolis Public Schools partnering with such an organization at the elementary, middle, and high school levels, but I guess here we are. So I have some questions about the after-school and career training programs. One, why are the only schools chosen for the Police Athletics League on the north side of our city? The communities most directly affected by the racist policing practices of the MPD. Second, why is MPS moving forward with any partnerships with MPD when the city's police department is under federal investigation by the Justice Department and the damning conclusions at the state level? Three, what has changed inside the MPD since our school district cut ties with them in the wake of George Floyd's murder? What evidence do y'all have of any of these changes? Number four, this question is probably the most important for me. Why does MPS have the time and energy to develop police-school partnerships with schools to elect social workers, fully staffed special education programs, and you can't pay our ESPs a living wage and you can't pay them on time or at all? No cops in schools.
Thank you, Karen Maverick.
Karen Maverick.
Is Karen here?
Karen Pato.
Kulia Pringle.
Kulia Pringle.
Kulia Pringle, National Parents Union, are giving my time to a Washburn student.
Good evening, school board. My name is Sina, and I'm senior at Washburn High School. We'll start off, they have switched our prayer rooms to a wrestling room. And you have to walk through a gym class while there's basketballs being thrown from left to right, where it never gets clean, and we just want a presentable room to pray in. We do not want to continue praying on a sweaty floor. Washburn High School has put up protocols for us Muslims to pray there. They set up their own rules and regulations that stops a couple of Muslim students to pray. Mr. Rooney has refused someone to pray due to them being tardy or their grades. They have been saying that they could take it away like it's a privilege. A privilege is being going outside for lunch taken away. She's trying to take away praying from us. She has violated our rights that were given by the government. Government rules that is higher than a protocol they made in a room at a public high school. Praying isn't a privilege, it's a human right. Superintendent schools been given the right to stop a child from peacefully practicing their religion. What happened to freedom of religion? It's just because of a topic. The student cannot pray. It is a civil rights violation and there are laws to protect people's religious practices, and these laws are above, they're made of school protocol. The First Amendment law, what they could do is inform our parents of our grades and our attendance. Our prayers do not correlate to it at all. Praying is an obligation. Religion or human right cannot
be
Rồi
taken
cái
away
bây
at
giờ bé này
school.
mua
The
cái cái
administrator
tàu
at
thế này mua
Washburn
chạy
High
tàu
School
cái
makes
chạy
me
cần
feel
đời bé
unsafe,
tàu
unseen,
tàu cũng tàu
unheard,
cũng bay
and
cần
are
đời bé
hushing other
Washburn
students up, but I will use my
lúc chạy cần đời
voice.
cho
We're
nó cũng hai
Muslim in
cái
our
cho nó cũng
religion.
hai cái
Foundation is
cho
built
nên
off
chỉ
of
nó cũng
peace.
số của
Help
tôi
me
chỉ
as
của
I
tôi
bring
nó của tôi
peace
chỉ
upon
của
this
số
area that will
tôi
hopefully
thả
be
tôi
corrected.
thả thế rồi tôi thả cho nó bé gần nhỏ tôi bé gần Muslims cho nên sẽ đâu
Samuel Edelstein.
Samuel Edelstein
Samuel here.
Samuel có bắt tôi
Kelly Pierre.
Kelly Pierre
Hi, my name is Kelly Pierre. I am a Minneapolis resident. I am a parent of a Minneapolis graduate, a current Minneapolis student, and I'm also a teacher in Minneapolis, and I've worked here for 23 years. I am concerned about the high dosage tutoring, that I had no idea what it was, still don't really understand, until last week when I received an email saying that 2 of my students, newcomers who've both been in the country for less than 2 months, are now slated to go to this newcomer tutoring. We don't know who's leading it, where it's happening within the building, what are these people's credentials. Newcomers need natural language to do learning. They learn best in natural environments. What's more natural than kids playing and working within the classroom? I'm also wondering who suggested this to start with. If we are so short on money, how can we spend $3 million to sit children who are under 6 years old, which according to state law, we can't set them in front of a screen without somebody working with them, like interacting anymore, for more than an hour a day. And if kindergartners aren't supposed to be on the computer, how would they do this program? My next thing is e-learning days. How is this going to work when kindergartners are not supposed to be on an iPad? We can't do Seesaw, they can't do Dreambox, Lexia, or anything else. They're not going to know how to log in. My students are lucky enough that most of their families have nannies or parents who will be working from home. That is not the case for the majority of the students in this district, and that has to be considered when you consider e-learning days versus snow days. That shouldn't be taken from them. Thank you.
Christian Crabtree.
Christian Crabtree.
Good evening. My name is Kristen Crabtree. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm here as a parent in MPS, as well as a victim survivor of violence, including direct targeted harassment by MPD, and with lived experience navigating the justice system that was initially created to serve white property owners. It is our job to care for one another. Tekleh Sundberg, Amir Locke, Winston Smith, Linnell Frazier, Dalal Eid. Those lives mattered. The MPD Explorers program was an intern program for high school students that resulted in abuse towards our children. 2 sisters came forward in 2018 about the sexual harassment and racism they experienced in the MPD Explorers, which resulted in threats from MPD and zero accountability. They have a pending consent decree and the Department of Human Rights findings. MPD does not have its house in order. It is not appropriate or wise to bring any of these programs into our schools, including the after-school sports. It is irresponsible and dangerous, and it ensures perpetuation of violent, abusive practices upon our children. I suggest that MPS listen to those most impacted by this choice, survivors, as well as the experts in violence prevention and trauma, and the experiences of other cities resulting in child abuse at the hands of police. Make the decision to prioritize the well-being of our children and our community. In practice, are we prioritizing victim survivors? Are we prioritizing well-being? Are we addressing harm or perpetuating it? If our goal is to affirm and pour into our children and to transform conditions that lead to violence, bringing police into our schools is not constructive. Police do none of those things. As a matter of fact, they directly contribute to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Katie Kampoff.
Katie Kampoff.
Is Katie here?
Katie ก็ต้นนู่นเนาะ
Gary Marvin Davidson.
Gary Marvin Davidson.
Gary Marvin Davidson, New Salem Educational Initiative, just about a 12-minute walk from the Davis Center, teaching students academically abused for decades by the Minneapolis Public Schools, but with much better prospects under this remarkable interim superintendent, Rochelle Cox. There was an exquisite moment in the last school board meeting after most people had left when Director Jourdain asked a very responsible question echoed by Director El Amin as to whether the high-dosage tutoring was going to be worth the cost. I looked over at Amy Fearing, Senior Academic Director, and there was a gleam in her eye, a fire that you see from a Tom Brady or a LeBron James, and she said, I got this one. Director Caprini said, is there anyone here who can speak to it? And Amy was effectively saying, oh yeah, I can. Superintendent, Interim Superintendent Cox set the context. Sarah Hunter, in her usual clear way, spoke to the question too and helped to set the context. And then Amy said, we did this vetting carefully. We had 6 applicants. We chose Carnegie and Axiom, which in fact do have very effective methods that have been effective in a number of situations. We do not absolutely know that this is going to work, but what we do know is that we do not right now have enough in-person tutoring to do the job, and you've seen the proficiency rates. And Caprini said, Director Caprini said, I hear your passion, and I hear your clarity. And Jourdain and El Amin, or rather, Director El Amin said you did your homework. We need more of that passion. These are our babies. These are our future. This is our future. And we need to do everything we need to do to make sure that we get those proficiency rates up. Get well, Amy.
Thank you. Tanya John.
Tonya has asked that her time is given to an MPS parent.
Hi, I have a student in Minneapolis Public Schools. I've been in the past in Minneapolis Public Schools. I do want to talk about bullying and the racial gap between POC students, Black students, and white teachers. I feel like that you guys should expand your resources to help all the POC students and Black students so we can get an understanding of what's going on, especially in classes. And with the suspension rate, how it is right now, again, it's with culture. And if you don't understand the background culture, what's going on, you guys are just going to continue suspending. I have dealt with so many suspensions between my lifetime and my child's lifetime, and it's a big deal. So mental health would be nice, like expanding mental health, expanding resources for children to talk to other adults that they can actually trust for once, instead of just speaking to a teacher where they're just being dismissed every single time. So I think that's all I'm going to say. I'm kind of new here, so. Thank you.
Jennifer Davis.
Jennifer Davis.
Jennifer here.
Jennifer Pato.
Katie Ditter.
Katie Ditter.
Katie. Elizabeth Saman.
Elizabeth Saman.
Brianna Harder.
Brianna Harder.
Hello, board and Interim Superintendent Cox. My name is Brianna Harder. I am a social studies teacher with 24 years in the district. In our schools right now, I'm at Henry. We are currently being charged with creating bell schedules for next year, and there is a significant, huge systems change that is happening affecting those bell schedules. We don't have the information we need to make some critical decisions right now. As an example, you're going to be voting on the bell schedules according to tonight's agenda. We have entered in at Henry to those conversations not knowing this. And so a lot of the conversation is off the timeline of the school board that we just learned about this weekend. But this is not the only information that we are lacking. We're lacking information about our budget. There's a big difference between a 6-period day, a 7-period day, and 8/2 block. We don't know the percentage of students that are going to be participating in the CTE blocks requiring travel. We have a lot of questions about transportation that have gone unanswered. We don't know how that travel time is going to fully impact students. Especially now with the addition or the return, I'm not sure about Edison to now 3 hubs, as we understand it. We've been told our course offerings at the homeschool cannot compete with CTE offerings. This is a huge question about what that actually means and the implications for equity, particularly for our English language learning and special education students. I have so much more to say. We have so many more questions. I will submit these, but we are functioning in silos and we're continuing to do so. We can't afford this any longer. So much harm has been done through those silos. We need to become an integrated system. Thank you.
Maria Cisneros.
Maria Cisneros.
Buenas tardes, superintendente, asociados y miembros de la mesa directiva.
Good evening, Superintendent and members of the Council of the Direction here.
Mi nombre es María Cisneros.
My name is Maria Cisneros.
Soy parte del Sindicato Nacional de Padres.
I am a member of the National Parents of Minnesota Union.
Estoy aquí hoy.
I am here today
porque hay mucha falta de liderazgo en Anderson.
There is a profound lack of leadership in Anderson School.
Me gustaría ver más a los asociados.
I would like to see more of the associates
trabajando o chequeando más en sus distritos, en sus escuelas.
Working or checking out how the schools that they are responsible of are doing.
Porque hay mucha violencia, mucha inseguridad.
Because there is a lot of violence and insecurity and unsafety.
Y no están poniendo atención a la seguridad de nuestros niños y nuestros jóvenes.
And they are not paying attention to the safety of our children and our youth.
Me gustaría ver también a cada uno de los directores que les corresponde su distrito.
I would like to see more of the directors that are responsible for specific districts.
Que vengan a chequear cómo está cada uno de sus distritos, de sus escuelas públicas de Minneapolis.
To come and check how your districts are doing in Minneapolis Public Schools.
No queremos que los niños haya más cuartos de cárceles.
We do not want more cells in jail, do we?
Porque piensan que nuestros niños son problemáticos.
Because you think that our kids are trouble.
Pero no están viendo las necesidades que están pidiendo a gritos nuestros niños de color, por la falta de que no están poniendo atención aquí en la mesa directiva.
But you're not paying attention to the screams of help that our children of color are indicating to you because you are not doing your job.
Le doy gracias a la directora Cerrillo, que es la única que he visto trabajar.
I would like to express my gratitude to Director Cerillo because he's the only one that I see doing her job
en su distrito
and her district.
Y en otros distritos que no le corresponden.
And even in some districts that not precisely belong to her.
Necesitamos ver a los otros directores en sus distritos trabajar haciendo su trabajo y ver las necesidades de nuestros jóvenes y nuestros padres de familia.
We would like to see you, all the directors, doing your job in your areas where you're supposed to be and paying attention to the needs of our children and our parents.
También necesitamos que haya más liderazgo de los enlaces comunitarios.
We also would like to see more leadership with the cultural liaisons.
En la búsqueda del superintendente que se va a postular.
In the pursuit of seeking the new superintendent that it will be proposed.
Para proporciones de liderazgo de la mesa directiva.
In order to have an increase in the leadership in this council.
Tienen que ver los intereses de nuestros estudiantes de color y nuestras familias. Gracias. Y van a hablar ellos también un poquito porque hay mucha necesidad de la voz de nuestros estudiantes de Anderson y los papás.
You have to look out after the interests of our children and our youth, and you need to show leadership, and there are two other people that will intervene today.
Good afternoon. My name is Jasmine. I am a sophomore in Anderson Middle School.
We had the sophomore.
There are a lot of racist and
Anderson Middle School
fights in my school, and I just want you guys to have more security in the hallways.
Buenas tardes. Margarita, soy mamá de Yasmín y estoy aquí por ella.
Good afternoon. My name is Margarita. I am the mother of Yasmín, and I'm here to support her.
Ella está pasando por una situación de acoso.
She's going through a situation of harassment.
Necesito más apoyo para ella, más vigilancia en la escuela, más atención en todo el distrito porque no solo ella está en esta situación.
I need more support. I need more attention to her. I need more help because this is not the only student that is going through this type of situation.
Necesito que mi hija esté tranquila, que se sienta segura en la escuela porque va a la escuela para estudiar, no para estar asustada. Ella está asustada y es lo que no quiero.
I need more security, more help for my daughter because my daughter needs to feel safe. She does not feel safe. She goes to school to learn not to feel unsafe and insecure in regards to what is happening at school.
Y a mí también necesito estar tranquila. Si yo voy al trabajo a trabajar, yo quiero estar segura de que mi hija está segura en la escuela. No quiero que la vayan a golpear.
And I need to be calm to know that if my daughter goes to school, she is learning not being afraid of being punched.
Ella necesita seguridad, no solo ella, todos, y ella está asustada. Necesito que esté bien, que esté tranquila. Necesito que vaya y que esté segura.
She's not calm, she's unsafe, she's scared, and I need her to be calm. If I go to work, I need to know that she is safe, and we need to solve it. She needs to be safe and secure, and have security that she is learning.
Necesito, por favor, que pongan más atención en esa escuela.
I need you to please put more attention, pay more attention to that school.
Necesito de su ayuda y eso espero, por favor.
And I need your help, and I hope I get it. Please, and thank you.
Thank you. Gracias. Randy Edelstein.
Randy Edelstein.
Is Randy here?
Randy Patua.
Joshua Hermeding. Sorry if I mispronounced that.
Hello. My name is Joshua Hermeding, and I am a special education assistant at Webster Elementary and proud MFT 59 member. Before describing what my job entails, I want to list my qualifications. I have a combined 10 years of experience as an educator. I have taught in 3 countries at the elementary, secondary, and college levels. I'm a certified Tier 4 teacher with a master's level education. I've worked in the public schools as a teacher, ESP, bus aide, substitute social worker, and facilities employee. What does my job at school entail? Well, I work one-on-one with a student who needs both physical support for motor skills as well as physical adaptation of curriculum. For nearly 7 hours a day, I sit next to the student and allow them to participate equitably in our public school setting. That includes feeding, going to the bathroom, standing, writing, placing and monitoring hearing devices, providing eye-level content that is easy to see, practicing calming strategies when frustrated, interfacing communication with other students, etc., etc., etc. If you were to ask any of his teachers or our admin what my students' 8 distinct educational goals are currently, I can guarantee they would not be able to tell you. But do you know who can? I can. Because every single day I am called upon to structure their day in a way to meet every single one of these separate goals. But sadly, despite my work, this district and school board do not feel that I am important. How can I say this? Because this past spring, our union went on strike in order to uphold and empower the work we do as ESPs. We won 5 extra hours to support collaboration with teachers and other professionals at the school. And do you know what was provided at my school by my administration? We could either sit on the buses and aid or forfeit our 5 hours. I didn't have to see 15 minutes to talk with any of the teachers every day. So, this is an example of systematic oppression of working class staff and students. It is disgusting, and you have the power to change it as our Minneapolis school board. And yet you have not. Listen to us, because we are the experts of our jobs. Honor our contracts.
Thank you. Ken Shane. Is Ken here? Christy Mann. Christy Main. Sorry.
Hi, I'm Christy Main. I'm a teacher at South. I'm a librarian, and I'd like to invite you today, the current and incoming school board members, to learn more about the library programming in Minneapolis Public Schools. Historically, Minneapolis has had robust library programs until 2013, and that's when the cuts to the librarians started. Today, the majority of our sites do not have librarians. Those cuts have had a direct impact on your literacy, equity, and sustainability goals of this school board. Librarians teach standards that are necessary to meet Minneapolis goals, but by not requiring licensed librarians at each of our sites, our students are missing key instruction in literacy, literacy programming, research, digital literacy, information literacy, digital citizenship, inquiry, coding, and more. When we do not provide access to library standards, we leave our students unprepared to meet the college library standards set by the Association of College and Research Librarians. As a result, our students struggle more academically than a student who has access to standards in other districts and other states. Our students will also struggle more in the workforce. If for no other reason, Minneapolis should staff librarians because of sustainability goals. Librarians are trained and skilled in managing millions of dollars of your assets. When the librarians manage the distribution and circulations of textbooks, curriculum, library books, and technology, Minneapolis saves money. I ask that we change the tide and support predictable staffing of all librarians and all specialists at school sites. And to view the staffing recommendations for libraries, I'd like you to reference the Minneapolis Budget Tie-Out recommendations of 2022-23, and I would like you to contact us to learn more about the new library legislation proposed right now at the state level, and to learn more about what we do in the schools so we can support the Minneapolis goals. Thank you.
Thank you.
I see that a lot of people didn't speak. Is it okay if I speak about another incident?
You could have signed up for this. We have. So
I was a student.
Is it just the one or both of you?
Just me.
Yes. Can you get 2 minutes? Thank you.
On November 18th, I got hate crime threats. Someone told me that they're going to rip off my hijab, and I got sent back to class, and I didn't get help afterwards at all. They tried to hush me and my friend that got threatened by the girl, and the girl was left at school, and they were not ensuring my safety. They told me that I can go hide in a room if I feel unsafe here, and they did not suspend her, did not give her any consequences, and I was told that the resolution that you are looking for is not the resolution that you're gonna get. Quotations. And I have video proofs of this going on here at the school, and that's all.
Thank you. Okay. What staff member wants to speak with you?
Some more the staff
Still out in the lobby.
Yeah. I've already talked to
Okay. All right. Perfect. Thank you. All right. Anybody whose name I called may have walked in late. Karen, Samuel, Christian, Katie, Jennifer. Nobody. All right. I want to thank everyone again for taking the time to share your perspectives and thoughts, concerns with us. We will now take a 10-minute recess. Directors, we will reconvene at 7:42. 6:42. 6:52. 6:52.
fix the mics. I'll call you in a minute here. Start recording. No, go to your car. Huh? You do all this girl, go through all of them right now.
My freaking Kincaid's after like 3 years, 4 years, God gave me. You just used it. Then another 60.
And no, I think we're
I have a gift card. I was just trying to check the balance on it.
I'd be happy to assist you with finding out how much is in your gift card. Give me 1 step, please.
Thank you.
May I have the card number?
It's only like 269740984, and then big space and then 1. I don't know if that's included or not.
Can I have the PIN number?
There's not a PIN number to it.
It would be in the back of the card.
It's in the.
It's a little gray square.
There's no square or no scratch off at all. Yeah, no, there's not a square scratch. I mean, is it with letters maybe?
Or a rectangle. It's a peel off or a scratch off.
Nope, there's not a scratch off.
That sounds great. Testing audio 1 2 3. Testing audio 1 2 3. Testing audio 1 2 3.
It starts with like letters.
Testing audio 1 2 3. Testing audio 1 2 3. Testing audio.
KUHZRY. Okay, 25. All right, sounds good. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, thanks. You're welcome. Thanks. Thank you. Okay, bye-bye.
Testing audio 1 2 3. Correct. Testing audio 1 2 3. Testing audio 1 2 3.
Sounds okay. Yes.
Checking 1 2 3. Checking 1 2 3. One second. Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Check 1 2. No. What mic? Oh, here you go.
Let's see if Julie, can you get Julie on the call?
I'm working on that. Testing audio 1 2 3.
Thank you for calling Holiday Station Stores gift card customers. Here's check 1 2.
Julie, can you try to speak into the meeting?
To obtain your card balance, have your account number available.
Sounds good.
I'm sorry, but that is an
Can you give us a check 1 2?
We can hear you, Julie.
That's good. Thank you.
Check 1 2.
I'm sorry, the number you've entered is invalid. Please re-enter your 19-digit account number followed by the pound key. I'm sorry, the number you've entered is invalid. Please re-enter your 19-digit account number followed by the pound key. The last 4 digits of the card number you entered are 5 6 6 5. If this number is correct, press the pound key. If this number isn't, please wait while we access your information. Your card balance is $15.00. To repeat this information, press 1. To obtain...
Yeah, like she's...
You'll just have to...
Testing.
We'll just have to...
You try yours.
Yeah, sure.
No, just try to talk.
Testing 1 2 3.
The lights. No, but it's working. Like we just So you'll just have to monitor it. Sorry. Everything is choosing to be messed up. Now I did, and then I'm going to do now.
She told me.
Trying to authenticate should be quick.
752, 750, 652. Yeah.
Your card has a negative balance of $11.88. To hear your balance and transactions, press 1.
your card. You may need to scratch off the gray strip in order to locate these numbers. Please enter the 15-digit card number starting with 04, followed by the pound sign. Thanks. Now enter your 8-digit access number located on the back of your gift card. Please wait while we get that for you. You can also check your gift card balance and transaction information by visiting www.target.com/checkbalance. Your balance is $5.00. To hear that again, press 1. To hear your last 5 transactions, press.
What do they want for Christmas?
Yeah, my son, they don't just like Roblox, toy Walmart, or anything. You know, they don't care.
Yeah. Okay.
Nothing expensive. You know, my kids are pretty low key.
Yeah.
They don't care. Go like catch all happy, like yeah.
How's Kiki doing? Did she like her new house?
So they're broken.
Yeah. But she went to see her house. She likes it. She's happy.
Yeah. Did you go see it yet or no?
I did. I spent the night with her the other day.
Okay.
It's like it feels like a little townhome.
But it's a whole house?
Yeah. I wouldn't pay that much for it.
That's what you said, cheapo paha.
Little town, kind of like, yeah, just a little townhome.
How many bedrooms is it?
5, actually.
Is Fifi living with her? Did she have
Me
a baby
doing
yet
it.
or no?
No, February.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So who's staying with her then? Just Fifi and the boys?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Just her live there?
Nope. She said Jack has too much company to Hoochie Mama. Mm-hmm. Dog running here all the time.
I thought she had a boyfriend. Did they break up or what?
Back and forth.
Hey, Donna, is Dot stalking her or no?
Nope. He's gone for good.
He's gone for good, huh?
Mm-hmm. So he's gone for good.
Does he care to come see the boys, or does Amo because she doesn't want to
Chiquito.
be with him?
Which is located in
Yeah, of course.
Please enter the 8-digit security code. It can be the PIN number should be 8 characters. The number you entered was 7561886. Please try again. Please enter the 8-digit security code. It can be.
I'm so glad that at least couple on
the current balance on your Starbucks card is $5 US.
Girl.
We noticed your card is not registered. Did you know that by registering and using a Starbucks card, you can earn
I will now call this meeting back to order from recess. Our next item is a presentation of the fiscal year 2021-22 annual external financial audit. Interim Superintendent Cox, will you please introduce this item and the guest presenters?
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair Ellison. I think before I start, I just want to say public comment is certainly really, I'm glad we have it, that we have a chance to have a face-to-face interaction with our public, our staff, our students. I do want to say that for our high-dose tutoring program, we also have the belief, as did the teacher who was up here, that kindergartners should not be a part of that. And during the break, I appreciate the staff who checked into it to make sure that those students were not in our high-dose tutoring program, and we'll work with the school tomorrow to see what happened there. And also appreciate the staff who went out to talk to students and families. We take those claims very seriously, and we'll make sure that they get resolved. So just wanted to say that before moving on. As directors will recall, each year the district, along with other large governmental entities, is required to have a comprehensive fiscal audit conducted by an external auditing firm. This year's audit is complete, and we have representatives from Bergan KDV here to present their independent audit. Welcome to the team, and please introduce yourselves and go ahead with your presentation.
Thank you, Superintendent Cox, Chair Ellison, and members of the board for having me here tonight. My name is Andrew Grice from Bergan KDV, your independent auditor, here to present the audit for the year ended June 30th, 2022. The first slide that we have for you highlights or summarizes our independent auditor's report, and that report highlights the responsibility of management. It's management's responsibility to prepare the financial statements, and it's our job as your auditor to come in, test, examine, and look at the underlying documentation to support the numbers and disclosures in your financial statement to base our opinion on. We are giving a clean, unmodified opinion on the financial statements. That's the best that we can give as your auditor, and that means this is a true and accurate presentation of the financial position and changes in financial position at the end of the year in all material respects. We also issue our report on government auditing standards. This report has us consider internal control over financial reporting, and we're required to report any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses in internal control that come to our attention as part of our audit process. We had two findings, one material weakness. We did propose, or actually the district identified a prior period adjustment that was made to correct the beginning balances for two funds, but there was no net change in fund balance for the year. And then there was also one significant deficiency for a lack of segregation of accounting duties. That particular finding was at a material weakness level last year, so there was significant improvement in that area to lower the severity of that finding to a significant deficiency level. We also issue our report on the uniform guidance. The district expended $143 million in federal awards this year, and that results in us being required to perform a single audit or a compliance audit related to the major federal programs. Now, we selected three major federal programs. The American Rescue Plan program, $3.7 million was spent there. Title I, $25 million was spent in that program, and the Education Stabilization Fund, which is the COVID-related dollars, $74 million was spent in that program. We are issuing a clean, unmodified opinion on compliance with those programs. So that means that those dollars, based on our test work, were spent according to the compliance requirements that are outlined for those particular programs. And we also had no deficiencies in internal control related to those programs. So a clean, single audit report. Last, we issue our report on Minnesota legal compliance. The Office of the State Auditor has legal compliance guides that outline certain statutes that we're required to report on if we become aware of any non-compliance with those statutes, and we had no findings to report in regards to Minnesota legal compliance. The other report that we issue here, beginning on the next slide, is our communications letter. The communications letter includes all of the required communication that we're required to provide in accordance with audit standards, and it also highlights some financial analysis. And we took a look at some budget to actual results and also some trend data, and we wanted to begin by taking a look at that budget to actual result. And the board approved a budget for 2022 that called for revenue of $653.9 million, expenditures at $655.5 million, and the plan was to spend down fund balance by $1.6 million for the year. When we take a look at actual results, actual revenues came in at $643.2 million, about $10.7 million or 1.6% less than anticipated. The main factors there was state sources of revenue. There was less enrollment than anticipated, and also that generated about $6.8 million of the variance there. And there was also less investment income than anticipated. That was budgeted at about $3 million, but was actually negative at the end of the year due to the poor market conditions at June 30th. On the expenditure side, expenditures came in at $648.1 million. That was $7.4 million less than anticipated, or about 1.1% less than anticipated. And that was mainly due to vacant positions that weren't filled, less students being served with a decrease in enrollment, and less special education costs. And those variances there were offset with some lease activity due to the implementation of a new accounting standard, GASB 87. As a result of current year operations, fund balance increased $18.9 million to $145 million at the end of the year. And the unassigned portion of fund balance, that's the metric for financial health that the district uses. There's a policy to maintain a minimum unassigned fund balance that decreased $1.5 million to $50.6 million at the end of the year. Now, going on to the next chart, just wanted to highlight the state sources of revenue, which is the most significant component of revenue for the district. And about 2/3 of that comes from the state of Minnesota, of total general fund revenues. And the majority of that comes in the form of general education aid. Now, general education aid is based on a formula, and that formula starts with the general education aid formula allowance. And for 2022, that accounted for $6,728 per pupil unit. Next, we'll take a look at average daily membership, and specifically resident ADM. And these are the students that are within the district's boundaries. And the resident ADM decreased here for 2022 from 48,788 to 47,636. That was a decrease of about 2.5%, or 1,152 students. The next slide shows the calculation, or the pupil unit numbers here. Advancing one more slide. Here we go. And the first part of the chart shows the weighting that is applied towards the resident ADM, and that accounts for these weighting factors, and you get a 20% premium for secondary students, but also to calculate the pupil unit numbers, we have to take into account the open enrollment process. So as we saw with resident ADM, we did see a decrease in resident ADM, which decreased 1,184, and then we also account for students leaving the district for other educational opportunities, and then also students from other districts coming into the district. And the pupil unit gain decreased from 1,871 down to 813, and the pupil unit loss increased from 20,825 to 21,060. And that resulted in a net decrease in pupil units served from 34,139 to 31,661. That was a decrease of 7.3%, and that's the largest decrease that we have presented here in the 5 years. The next slide shows, and this is just another graphic of that, just showing the 5-year trend, showing that decrease in enrollment. The next slide here shows general fund sources of revenue, and general fund sources of revenues increased 6.5%, or about $40 million. Now, as we saw, state sources is the largest component of that, and with the decrease in enrollment, we saw a decrease in that category of about $16 million. Local property taxes decreased $3 million, and that was offset by other sources, which increased $58 million. The majority of that is federal sources of revenue, and a lot of that is one-time pandemic-related relief that was provided for the district. So that's why you're seeing that at the highest point in the 5 years presented. Next, we'll take a look at general fund sources of revenue, just a bar graph format, and going one more slide, we'll take again a look at the budget to actual results. And again here, seeing revenues coming in less than anticipated by about 1.5%, and a main driver there again, state sources of revenue due to less enrollment than anticipated. The next chart shows the makeup of general fund expenditures and the allocation by program. And expenditures in total it increased from $585,000 to $648,000, but the makeup and the allocation by program was fairly consistent from 2021 to 2022. Going on to the next slide, we also show expenditures in the budget to actual results. And in total, general fund expenditures were $7.4 million, or about 1.1% less than anticipated. And again, that relates to vacant positions, but that was offset by lease activity. There were some significant accounting adjustments related to the implementation of the new accounting standards this year. And if you were to factor that out, the general fund was under budget by about 4.7%. And again, a lot of that relating to vacant positions. District support and administration was under budget because of budgeting for certain grant programs in that area that were ultimately spent in other areas. Sites and buildings was over budget by about $3.3 million related to lease activity. Instructional support services was over budget by about $3.2 million related to stipends and other negotiated items related to collective bargaining agreements. And special education was $5.7 million under budget due to less special education costs than anticipated. The next chart shows revenues per ADM served. Just to give some perspective, we also provided the state averages for revenue per ADM served. And with the increase in revenue and the decrease in enrollment that we're seeing these numbers increase here for 2022, increasing from 23,189 to 26,242. And again, that relates to the general fund as well as the food service fund and community service fund. Both of those funds experienced increases this year with increased activity related to the pandemic happening in the prior year and the related impact in those funds. And going on to the next slide, we also wanted to share this metric for expenditures. And so we saw expenditures increase this year. However, with the declining enrollment, we're seeing increases in expenditures per ADM served, increasing from 24,692 to 29,052. And we're seeing that across the state as well with the additional funding that was provided related to the pandemic. We're also seeing increases, but those are a little bit higher. The increase is a little bit higher at Minneapolis Public Schools because of the decrease in enrollment. The next chart shows the general fund financial position here for the last 5 years. And in 2022, we did see an increase in total fund balance, increasing increasing from $126 million up to about $127 million at the end of the year. There was a decrease in cash and investment balances, decreasing from $168 million down to about $153 million because there's amounts receivable from the state related to state and federal funding. The next chart shows the general fund operations here for the last 5 years. And as we saw in the previous slide, we did see an increase in fund balance this year of about $19 million. And the bottom part of this chart shows the breakout of fund balance between the different components. There's a non-spendable component, amounts that are spent on prepaid or inventory-related items, amounts that are restricted. The state provides state sources of revenues that are restricted to be spent in particular areas. And then we have amounts that are assigned for specific purposes, and then that leaves the unassigned amount. And we did see increases in the non-spendable category as well as amounts restricted for specific purposes. Operating capital increased about $3 million. Alternative programs increased by $1 million. Basic skills extended time increased by $2 million. Assigned fund balances, which make up a majority of that, is made up with class size reduction and capital projects referendum. That increased $11 million. And the unassigned fund balance decreased about $1.5 million. And just a reminder on the district's policy, it is to maintain a minimum of 8% of the annual budgeted expenditures. And at the end of the year for 2022, the unassigned fund balance represented 8.3%. So the district is in compliance with its minimum fund balance policy. The next chart, I also wanted to highlight the two special revenue funds here. First, the food service fund. The food service fund was fairly consistent with 2021 on the revenue side, a little bit of a decrease. There were better reimbursement rates for meals served. However, there was a decrease in enrollment and related decrease in meals served. And the expenditures increased from $19.2 million to $25.2 million as operations were back in person and our meals are back being served in person. And so saw an increase in costs there, and as a result, we did see a deficit for the year of about $4 million, decreasing fund balance from $5.4 million to about $1.4 million at the end of the year. The last slide here is the Community Service Fund. Again, with the pandemic having a significant impact on programming in the prior year, we did see a little bit of a rebound here in 2022, with revenues increasing from $27 million to about $29.7 million at the end of the year. Also an increase in expenditures that resulted in a surplus for the year of about $112,000, increasing fund balance to about $5.2 million at the end of the year. That's a high-level review of our audit reports and the financial analysis provided in the communications letter. Next, we'd just like to open it up for any questions.
Thank you, auditors, and working on the finance team and others who helped put this audit together. Directors, I'm going to note that on the consent agenda includes a resolution acknowledging that we have received and filed this audit. Are there any questions for the auditors? Hit your request to speak button. There are none. Director Elamine.
Thank you, Chair. Just wondering again, you mentioned about the material weakness.
Sure.
Can you say a little bit more about what that
Sure. There was a certain expenditure in the prior year that was recorded in the wrong fund. So that was just a reclassification to ensure that that particular expenditure was recognized in the proper fund.
Okay, thank you.
Director Booker?
Director Booker? You mentioned the segregation of funds that, usually, I was just wondering, what was the dollar amount of that entry where you noticed that it wasn't properly held, where someone might have the opportunity to misplace it or theft? What was that dollar amount?
Are we talking about the segregation?
Yeah, segregation of duties, yeah.
So that particular finding is just related to the policies and procedures at the district and the roles that are in place there. So there were no actual instances of any misappropriation or anything like that, but it makes the board aware of the fact that there is some overlap in certain accounting duties. So in the perfect world, there would be 4 different people in a particular transaction process, and with turnover in the finance department and some of the year-end duties there was some overlap in those duties.
I totally understand that. I was just wondering, is there a dollar amount? Is it large, small, medium, high, or across the board? Or?
There was no specific dollar amount for that particular finding. It's just process related.
Processing. Okay. If it'd be okay, I'd like Senior Officer Giap just to comment also on this one. Is that okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent and members of the board and the public here present and watching this meeting. This is a finding that if we go back, we would see it, that separation of duties and lack of internal control. So we've had that finding for many years now. And I've said it before, we've been operating with a very thin staff level. Most of the budget reductions that we've done, we've been reducing the Davis Center. And when we do, these things happen. For instance, if you have 2 people or 2 people in accounts payable, if one is sick, there is only one left. And if we have to issue a payment, that person would be the one processing the transaction and issuing the check, which is not a good practice. So these are the things that we're having. So we're working to retool the finance office, both in accounting and payroll and other areas, because we are really at a level, and we've been in this position for just too many years.
Thank you. Director Caprini?
Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you. Thank you for, do I need to turn that?
It won't come on. The light won't come on.
Technical difficulties.
Yes.
Thank you. It has been a pleasure to have audits that have very few findings. I've said this before, that years ago we used to have up to 18 findings. And it's my opinion that there were departments that were pretty heavy handed with support in terms of people in positions. Senior Officer Giap, thank you for the explanation about the separation of duties. That goes to show that when people ask to make big cuts at the Davis Center, these are the outcomes that you receive. There are areas in payroll where we've had people come forward and talk about not getting paid. This is another really important example. So I guess I say all of that to let people know going forward that we do have departments that are in desperate need of employees, hiring employees, so that people can actually get paid, and so that we don't have findings in audits, because we went from years and years of 18, 20 findings down to 2, 3, now just these 2. So I applaud Senior Officer Giap and his staff for working within these shortages, and I just hope that the people in this space right now and the folks that are listening at home recognize when you start asking for cuts at the Davis Center, these are some of the outcomes that happen. We could run into a situation where there is a dollar amount that gets missed, and then what? Thank you.
Thank you. Director Jordan?
Thank you, Chair Ellison. Yeah, just to speak to the separation of duties. That has been just an ongoing thing since I got here on the board. Every year, we just have an understaffed finance department. And yet the people in the finance continually do hard work. I mean, we've won national awards 2 years in a row. We've been recognized nationally, statewide, et cetera, and yet we still are, still understaffed. And I have been pushing. And the first time when I first got on the board orientation, Chief Diop sat down and said, we're understaffed and we're working as hard as we can. And that was 2016. So we have not had, as far as I've been on the board since 2016, we have not had a fully staffed finance department. And this is not a slight to anyone, but I have consistently asked, can we please get a fully finance staff? And I know I'm not the only one up here that has said that. And I think moving forward, and especially moving forward with what we are facing financially, and we'll talk more about that tonight, the time has come to find every single available dollar to have a fully financed staff, especially going forward with where we are, again, like I said, where we are financially. Because can you imagine how good it would be if we had a fully staffed finance department? In the things that we could do to really maximize services for our students and our staff, and being available to move forward with that. So I hope that, again, my pleas for a fully financed staff department or fully financed staff team does not go unheard again. But moving forward, I know that it's been talked about and it's being worked on. So thank you guys again for coming here. I do save all your audits, by the way. Too bad we no longer print them out, but or get them in hard copy. But I save every single thing that I've ever gotten, and I do look back on your past audits that you guys have brought forward to us back when we actually got them in a paper booklet. So, and I've been able to look forward over the years and see the progress that we have done with our finance department here in Minneapolis. So thank you.
They're about to get larger because this is the first year that the district will be submitting for the finance award at ASBO for a certificate in excellence in financial reporting. So it'll be a bigger book going forward.
Look forward to printing that out.
Okay, thank you. Those last questions. Thank you, directors, for your questions. Thank you, auditors, for your work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next item is a brief update on the current year budget and an overview of the proposed tax levy, which is a requirement of the levy process. Finance team, please go ahead with the update and overview, after which we'll take questions.
Thank you, Director Ellison, Superintendent Cox, members of the board. Just a brief budget update, just a couple slides. So revenue, this year, we're looking at $11.6 million in our budget, above the original budget. This assumes the adoption of the board resolution tonight. And the big items here are we had a reduction of $6.8 million in the lower ADM projected, as well as $24.5 million of ESSER pull forwards. And that's to fund the transportation, food service, and academic boosts. And then we reduced the revenue in the food service fund because that will be subsidized out of the general fund. Expenditures, we're looking at a general fund increase in our budget, assuming the budget resolution tonight is passed, of $26.1 million. So that would be $1.6 million in general operating is related to the $1.4 million for security enhancements and the $220K added for hot lunches at Wellstone. And then the $3 million pull forward for academic boosts, $16.5 million for increased transportation costs, and the $5 million ESSER pull forward to subsidize food service. So we're looking at a total operating expense in our operating funds of $20 million in excess of budget. And then in our non-operating funds, the only change that we've seen this year is the $12 million increase to fund the inflated costs at North High and the CTE Center construction.
Are there any questions related to that item?
Directors, hit your request to speak button if you have any questions.
Okay.
Seeing none.
All right. Moving into our 2023 levy overview here with the truth in taxation. The purpose of this meeting, Minneapolis Public Schools has the taxing authority. State statute requires all local governments, cities, counties, and school districts to hold a public hearing prior to the certifying of their levy. Public comments must be allowed at or after 6 p.m., which occurred today. And the hearing must be held after the release of the property tax notices from the county. The notices contain information on estimated taxes as well as market value and other adjustments. These notices were sent up by Hennepin County in the month of November. Moving on here. Some basics of the levy. School levy authority is established in Minnesota state statute. This is operated through MDE. Levy includes items authorized by statute, which some items have restrictions and some items are less restrictive. And these are also voter-approved referendums as well. The 22-23 levy will provide funding for the calendar year 24 for the school year of collection between fiscal year 24 and 25 as we have June 30th year end. The receipt of our payments occur in May and October, split between our fiscal years, and the collections occur from Hennepin County. The levy amount very rarely can be increased, but almost always will be decreased after September 30th. There is a rare instance that we did see a slight increase in our community service fund this year. Factors impacting the levy amount are changes in our tax bases. Each home is assessed a value, your estimated market value and taxable market value. Changes to your individual house can impact the overall taxing that you get. Legislative changes to education formulas. This is operated through MDE as the levy process. Referendum inflationary increases can increase or decrease the amount of the levy overall. Pension contribution changes required by statute. We do a levy for an additional amount for para and TRA that goes back to the state. We do have the authority to levy for other post-employment benefits obligations that our employees have here. And another big piece is our debt. We are able to levy for principal and interest payments on our debt related to our issuances of bonds for capital projects, refunding issuances, and long-term facilities maintenances and health and safety projects. Moving here to our levy summary. This shows that we are having an overall increase of 4.34%. This has been adjusted since the last Finance Committee meeting when it was 4.47%. The changes that took place since that date was a $164,000 increase in Community Service Fund. MDE discovered an error on MDE's part, and they notified the school districts that affected, and we were able to clear that up, and that increased that. With our refunding that we did on our 2014 bond with 2022D, we require less principal and interest. Therefore, we are seeing a decrease in the amount that we need to levy for in our debt service fund. So our debt service levy decreased $474,000. That overall is a decrease of $310,000 from our Finance Committee meeting. So that went from 4.47% to a now levied amount of 4.34%. looking at our proposed property tax statement that was sent out to Hennepin County here, kind of broken up in 4 steps here. One of the main key factors here is step number 1 here that shows your estimated market value and taxable market value. There are a lot of properties that saw increases this year. Minneapolis Public Schools does not have any authority regarding the value of your house. If you have any questions related to that, please contact Hennepin County assessors. Step number 2 shows the overall increase or decrease between all taxing authorities within the taxing district. And step 3 identifies the due dates and coming up for the Hennepin County here. Actual statements will be presented to everyone by mail on March 2023 with your payments due on May and October. And again, Minneapolis Public Schools only has authority over that boxed amount on the bottom right there. So looking at this, it can be a little misleading for changes in taxes here. So estimated market value for Minneapolis Taxing Authority District increased 7%, while the taxing market value increased 7.3%. So there are going to be properties that see a decrease, and there are going to be properties that see increases. If your valuation of your home remained pretty consistent throughout from last year, you're actually going to see a decrease potentially in the amount of taxes that you pay, but most properties did see an increase in their market value. So if your assumption is that there is no increase in your property, you'd be looking at around 3.6% decrease in taxes due. And that goes up to 3.9% when you go up to $1 million property valuation. Corporate side, they are seeing around a 0.8% increase. That's with the assumption that you are not having an increase in your market value, which is a driving factor. Any questions related to that?
Director, see your request to speak button, please.
So I'm wondering if you can tell me where I could find information about where in the city are we seeing the highest increase in property tax increase? And then where can I find more information about the percentage that corporations pay, and in what areas of the city are they paying the least or the highest? That's a lot. You can email me if you want.
I'll do some digging around that. I know there are some areas that saw more significant decreases and more significant increaes. It's kind of scattered.
So I'll narrow it to our 6 districts if that works.
Okay, yeah, I can do some digging on that.
Do you have time?
Yeah, I'll find something.
Okay,
I'm interested too.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you. This is one of the actions we will take later on in the meeting. We will continue with our finance team. The next item, a presentation and discussion about the budget pro forma. Interim Superintendent Cox, would you please introduce this item and the team?
Yeah, thank you, Chair Ellison. As they have done annually for the past several years, the finance team has put together a pro forma budget document, which is a set of status quo financial projections and parameters used to inform both short and long-term budget development process. The key phrase, as you will hear Budget Director Rothke describe in more detail, is status quo, as in continuing in the same way without significant changes, which is what we can all see is not an option. So the pro forma is not a prediction of what's inevitable. It shows us that we need to change course accordingly, and that's exactly what we'll do together. I believe my role as interim superintendent is to help put the next superintendent in a strong position to be able to work with the new board to make the needed changes so MPS can be what we all know it can be. This means beginning the process of outlining all options available to us, and I can tell you already that this is going to take an all-of-the-above approach, as there are no single fixes. First, we need to ensure that the way we spend money is more closely aligned and to the values and priorities in our strategic plan. Making sure we spend money in this way not only has potential to identify where we might be able to reduce expenses, but will also get the needed resources to the key goal areas of academic achievement, student well-being, effective staff, and school and district climate. Next, we'll work to increase revenue. There is no denying that a large part of why we are in this situation is the decades of chronically underfunding public education by state and federal governments, especially with special education and English learner funding. If MPS received full reimbursement for the services we provide in just these two areas, we'd have more than $70 million additional dollars every year in revenue. Again, this won't and can't fix things on its own, but it's a critical piece. This legislative session in particular offers hope that the state leaders will at long last deliver on what is owed to our public schools. And through approval of the legislative agenda later this evening, we will be there to make sure it happens. No one thing will alone put us back on a sustainable financial path, including increasing student enrollment. Having more students in our school, however, is one of the needed steps we must continue to focus on, building on some great successes this year. Our student placement and engagement teams have been partnering closely with 3 focus schools, and I'm pleased to share that they have hit their targets and filled all but 13 seats across the 3 schools compared to their projected enrollment. We are also working with partners, including our educator unions, on initiatives such as door-knocking enrollment campaigns to help make sure our community knows about all the amazing things happening in their public schools. Remember that our enrollment choice window is now open through February 7th when the first lottery begins, or closes, sorry. Check out our amazing schools in person or through a video tour, or talk with our staff who will be out at events, including enrollment fairs and in the community. Everything you need can be found at enrollmps.org. While increasing the share of school-age students MPS serves is important, we must acknowledge that the number of children in our city continues to decrease. We will work with our partners on correcting this through increasing affordable housing and addressing public safety concerns, but the reality is that it's unlikely that tens of thousands of children will return to Minneapolis again in the near future. So, we must also take steps to ensure that our district is appropriately sized for our city and population. I recognize the difficulty in even starting this conversation, but I also see the enormous potential benefit for our students and staff in being able to resource our schools the way we all want, which is something that would be undoubtedly easier to do if we weren't trying to sustain so many school buildings, each with their own administration, transportation, utility, specialized positions, and courses, and other costs. Especially this last one, but really all of these steps must be done in close partnership with students, families, staff, and community members, or none of them will work. We must again recommit in words and actions to fulfilling the promise of the key word in our name, public. This institution is for all of us, and we have each a shared responsibility for it, including the stewardship and sustainability of ensuring it can serve generations of Minneapolis families to come. I know our community is ready to dig in to figure this out together, and I'm here with you. So, before I turn it over to the finance team to share about their projections more in depth, I want to again offer my assurance to the board, to our families, to our staff, and to our community that we will come out the other end of this fiscal challenge as a stronger MPS. The public school system in Minneapolis has been around for almost 150 years. It's constantly adapted, grown, changed, but it's always been the heart of our state's most important city, and it will continue to be so for another 150 years, even if it looks different than it did 10, 50, or 100 years ago. I'm honored to be a small part of this chapter of MPS's story. While it will be hard at times, I know this too will be a time in history where we will again rose to the challenge and emerge better for it on behalf of our children. Now, Chair Ellison, with your permission, I will ask our finance team to go ahead with their presentation, after which we'll be happy to answer questions. Team, please go ahead.
Thank you, Interim Superintendent Cox.
Superintendent Cox.
All right. I want to start by talking about what a pro forma is, right? So our pro forma is a 5-year projection of the district's financial position, and it's essentially a tool to inform the board, you, and senior leadership as you make financial decisions. It's also an explanation about why our financial situation is the way that it is, and an analysis of the future position of the district as it looks to the future. Also important is what a pro forma is not. The purpose of the pro forma is not to prescribe structural changes to the district. It's not to propose remedies to existing financial issues, and it's not meant to direct the decisions of the board and senior leaders. The purpose of the pro forma, it's meant to inform, not to direct. So what are the findings of our pro forma this year? I'll just go through them point by point. The district is approaching an impending fiscal crisis. This is the result of long-standing structural issues compounded by rapidly increasing costs, stagnant revenue, and the sudden loss of federal funds in fiscal year 25. Increasing enrollment is not a viable strategy to fix the district's financial issues. And the largest cause of enrollment declines is due to a decline in the number of children that are living in our city. So this is the numbers. And if you look at the very bottom, you'll see that we have the beginning fund balance and the ending fund balance drawn out. Essentially what we are saying is that if we do nothing, we would run out of money to operate the district in fiscal year 25, or around then. So I'm going to talk about some of the assumptions that we made as we put together this pro forma. The primary assumptions in our model are enrollment, funding levels, and salaries and other expenditures. And I'll start with enrollment. Am I missing a slide? Yeah. So I'll skip to this slide. So this is the change in enrollment counts for Minneapolis residents. So these are the change in Minneapolis, publicly educated Minneapolis residents who are, and where they are attending, right? So we have lost since fiscal year 19, well actually since fiscal year 18, we've lost 5,993 students through fiscal year 22. And it's important to note that charters during that time have picked up 807 students. And the open enrollment, other districts have picked up 367. So the net change of 4,819 to the bad is the number of publicly educated students that are no longer here. And the reason for that is there are simply fewer children living in the city, right? The number of children ages 5 and under living in the city fell 17% between 2020 and 2021. And the number of children ages 6 to 15 fell 6.4%. There are simply fewer children for us to educate. And when we look at the trend and we draw it out, we still expect to see slight increases, I think, in charters and open enrollments, but we expect the enrollment declines that we've experienced over the last 5 years to continue. We don't have any reason to believe that they won't, because we don't have any reason to believe that the demographic changes in the city will change. And our projection results in enrollment of just over 23,000 in fiscal year 28. Another issue is that the formula, the per pupil student aid that we receive from the state, has not kept pace with inflation over the last 20 years. So if you look at the lines on this graph, this is the amount adjusted for inflation in today's dollars of the student formula by grade level. And except for kindergarten, which is the blue line, which went from half day to full day kindergarten in fiscal year 15. The lines have been dropping over the last 20 years. And had the per student aid kept pace with inflation, MPS would have received an additional $26.8 million in basic aid this year. Our other assumptions are related to salaries and wages and fringe and other expenses. But nearly 80% of our general fund expenditures are used to pay salaries, wages, and fringe benefits. So small changes in the way that we compensate people can have outsized effects on the overall financial position of the district. We also factored in expected improvements to compensation. So this would be the total cost of increasing the cost of our collective bargaining agreements. If you look at the slide, the boxes that are shaded in gray are agreements that have already been agreed to. For all other agreements, we're assuming that there will be a 2.5% increase every year through the pro forma period. It's also really important to point out that we have not included the cost of our strategic initiatives in this projection. So we are not including any costs related to the strategic plan. And some of these costs will be high. For example, the strategic plan includes aligning curriculum to replacement to national standards, lowering vacancy rates, and pursuing collective bargaining strategies that increase the flexibility of the district. All of these will come with a cost. And then we have the ESSER 3 expiration in fiscal year 25. And you can see that on the red bar on the chart. That's the amount of revenue that we are projecting to receive from federal sources, from grants. And you can see the significant drop off in fiscal year 25. This will leave approximately $70 million in annual funding that will either require reduced spending or using the general fund balance. 1 year of operating the district with this sizable of a deficit will wipe out the general fund. And if we look at a general fund projection, given the current status quo, the district would be forced to take on operating debt starting in fiscal year 25. As revenue continually declines and expenditures compound on themselves, we see the increase in the fund balance, the operating debt increase at an increasing pace. And eventually the bottom will simply fall out. We also have to consider our minimum fund balance requirement. Board policy requires an 8% minimum fund balance unassigned, as our auditor was saying earlier. And we can model out what enrollment levels we would need in order to maintain that fund balance level. And it turns out that we would need about 40,000 students to maintain our fund balance policy of 8%. Essentially, the district is built for 40,000 students, and we have 28,000. So the question is, how do other districts do it? And the answer is they spend less money per pupil. MPS spent $3,900 more per pupil in general operating costs in fiscal year 21 than the other 15 largest districts in the state. And if MPS spent per pupil at the same rate as those other districts, we would have spent $125 million less in fiscal year 21 than we did. The largest gaps are in regular instruction, special education, and pupil support services. So why do we spend so much more money per student? We have significantly lower student-to-teacher ratios, and they drive increased costs. We have 9.6 students for every licensed staff member, according to MDE in fiscal year 21. And the other top 15 districts have 12.5, the state average being 12.3. And for our instructional staff, we have 13 students for every instructional staff, and that would be licensed instructional staff. The other top 15, it's 16.1. And the state, it's 15.4. So that's a significant difference. And then the question is, why are our ratios so low? The low ratios are driven by the number and size of schools. We simply have more smaller schools than other districts do. And the average number of schools in our district is significantly smaller than other districts. So I'll go through some potential fiscal challenges that we may face. These are the risks that are in our pro forma. Enrollment might decline more than projected. Inflation may limit the district's flexibility in making decisions. And this one is really important. The district may be unable to maintain its special education maintenance of effort threshold. And what that means is that every year, the Minnesota Department of Education, the law is written so that we have to spend the same or more on special education as we did the previous year. So we can never drive savings through special education reductions. We always have to spend at the same levels or higher. The district may simply be unable to recruit or retain the staff needed to implement the strategic plan. Or the district may be unable to maintain its bond rating, which would make debt more expensive and make it harder to maintain our buildings. We do have a few opportunities. The strategic plan might drive incremental enrollment. It might work. I hope it does. The state legislature might increase the district's funding. We're all hoping for that. So, in conclusion, enrollment is falling as families leave the city. As currently structured, the district faces an imminent fiscal crisis due to decreasing revenue and increasing costs. This is exacerbated by the use of COVID relief funds and adjusted for inflation, state education aid that has not kept pace with inflation over the last 20 years. The district spends significantly more per student than other large districts in Minnesota. This higher per student spending is driven by low student-to-teacher ratios, which result from smaller, more numerous schools. And then on top of that, the strategic plan will require substantial ongoing financial commitments by the district in areas such as curriculum adoption, bargaining strategy, and expanded programming. I'll take any questions.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Directors, please hit your request to speak button. Any questions, comments? We'll discuss this in finance. So, Director Arneson?
Thanks for being here. I did address this in finance, but I think it's just important to comment that no doubt adopting a status quo budget, it's really important to emphasize the current reality. So I always appreciate this pro forma process, and it's not something that we've always done, but it's a really important addition to our budget process so that we can all kind of start in the same place and be clear about our facts. And I think I want to kind of do my hand today to acknowledge that we never passed a status quo budget. At least I haven't been one, and I'm going to know that our finance team puts together a budget, and I am am 100% certain you're not going to recommend a status quo budget. So I just think it's important to emphasize that this is a kind of a level playing field that we're starting to setting the field, and we'll move forward, as the superintendent mentioned, earlier this evening, that moving forward, there's opportunities, and we intentionally make decisions every year. We did that last year's budget as well. We made cuts last year. The auditor acknowledged that we had some vacancies that actually captured 4.3% in unexpected revenue, and some of those things will happen again. So I think there's a variety of opportunities, and I have full confidence that we will be able to find a path forward in creating a balanced budget, just as we have passed the past number of years.
Thank you. Student representative?
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. You kind of touched on this too.
But
are other districts in the state kind of seeing these same issues that MPS is facing, like declining enrollment and families leaving cities? I know maybe not as severe as MPS is facing with the financial crisis, but how are these other districts kind of combating these kind of same like impacts, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't have specific data with me, but the anecdotal evidence that I've been hearing from other districts is that they are also experiencing enrollment declines due to demographic changes in the country as a whole. I mean, this is a nationwide phenomenon. Our enrollment declines have just been compounded by other factors, I think.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. I would just like to add too, as I network and collaborate with other superintendents in the metro area, the ending of ESSER funds is a concern for all districts, and I think it goes to the point of how we're making our next year's investments about ESSER. We've been, Senior Officer Giap and I have been talking about we need to be really careful with those funds and make sure we understand those are one-time funds, as which we did with high dosage tutoring, knowing that those are not funds that we can continue to invest in over the years, but that they will be gone. So I think that's a concern that I'm hearing across districts also.
Thank you. Director Enns?
Thanks, Madam Chair. Is this not working? Is that?
We can hear you. The light.
Oh, just the light doesn't come on. Okay. Thanks for the sobering presentation. Just a couple, there's a lot of things to dig into and to talk about and to consider. There's a couple of things I just want to ask about, but there's, of course, tons of things that people could talk about with respect to funding and state funding and et cetera, of public education. But one thing I just wanted to kind of highlight and talk about is the notion that sort of the cause of our lack of enrollment, because I think that's important when we think about Assistant Superintendent, or I'm sorry, Interim Superintendent Cox talked about that obviously we want to increase enrollment, improve the district, get people to come back that have left. But the point that you made, and if you look at the slide, I'm not sure which number it was, but the change in enrollment counts for Minneapolis residents, that one. In fiscal year 22, even charter schools saw a decline in enrollment as well. So even if we were to recapture the 807 students that we lost to charter schools over the last 4 fiscal years, so that's a long, 4 years, 800 students, we'd still be in a really difficult financial situation. And the issue is, and I think it's important for people to recognize, because we receive a lot of criticism, certainly as Minneapolis Public Schools, whether it's, the criticism is relevant, irrelevant, accurate, what the motivation for it is. The fact of the matter is that it's important for us to not recognize, not say, well, if we just do things better, then people will come back. And the reality is that even if we were to get all those folks back that we lost over the last 4 years to other schools, we'd still be in a difficult financial situation. We'd still be up here describing the same basic thing anyway. So I think it's important for us to point that out. And Chief Financial Officer Job has pointed that out, maybe not that explicitly in the way that in the words that I just used, but I think it's important for everyone to recognize that reality and everyone in the city to recognize that reality, and to not say like, that's it. I just think that's really where we need to what we need to think about and where we need to stand. Now the other stuff, some of the other things that you pointed out, like the and I don't know, I'm not a number cruncher, but if you talk about ratios, staff ratios, for example, some of that is because I think of the different kind of population that we might serve as compared to the average district in the state, and the high need special education services that we provide, for example, that are very staff intensive. The way that we fund special education, of course, we've talked about that before, right? So those things maybe also, and we've talked about those at length with respect and how we fund special education with respect to the state legislature and what our state legislative agenda is, and how that works with open enrollment as well. So those things I think are not to be just sort of cast aside in those policy solutions for changing the way we do revenue at the state for our particular population of students that we have. It's not really fair to compare Minneapolis Public Schools with the average Minnesota school district. It's really like comparing apples and oranges, and to some of the services that we provide that are not provided by other schools and other districts in the state. So with respect to that, I think we should be critical and be careful about how we present information, and to just say that, well, we have a high, I mean, you're a finance guy, right? Maybe that's why you do it, and that's the reason why, and if you look at it, but we are doing different things than other districts are doing, and so to just say that we have, a lower ratio, there's a reason why we have a lower ratio of staff, is I guess what I'm saying. So I don't know if you want to comment on that at all, if I'm off base. If you have thoughts about that, I'd appreciate hearing them. So, do you understand my question?
I do, and I think I think that's definitely something that we would consider. I will note that our special education population is not all that far off from other districts in the metro area as a percentage of our students. We do spend more, I think, on special education. We spend a couple $1,000s more on special education per student than other districts. For example, in fiscal year 21, we spent $22,000 for every special education student versus St. Paul, which spent, well, they spent $22,000 too. But let's look at versus Anoka Hennepin spent $16,000, right? So that's a big difference right there. Spread over.
So I would want to know why, right? And it's not just enough to say we spend more on special education. I would want to know why, and maybe there's a good reason why we spend more on special education, right? So, and if there is a good reason for why we spend more on special education, then the answer is, or the problem is not going to be solved by us making some kind of internal adjustments that are then going to not provide those services to the kids that need it, is what I'm saying. The real problem is that we're doing a different job, maybe, with respect to special education, than say, I don't want to throw shade on other districts or whatever, but like, then say random district in the North Metro that isn't providing those services, and so there's nothing we can do internally that's going to change that. The real problem is external, right? And I think, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Director Ince, your point on, thank you very much for the question, because it gives us the opportunity to clarify something. We do have the special ed cross-subsidy that we talked about, 56 million. But we do have another piece that we're spending, area in special ed that we spend a lot. If you look at the reimbursement, that is our students that are serviced by other districts. A year ago or so, we spent an extra $21 million because we do not sit at the table that sets the rates of reimbursements. So here we are, and I know that every year I do get in May, June, an invoice that comes from these service providers, and they are not about 55,000 or so, they are in the millions. And these are reimbursements that we had no role in determining in terms of rates. So that's one. So the question that you asked earlier about what is it that we're doing, or that what we're doing, that the comparison with other districts. In the program tonight, we do have a budget amendment. One is about transportation. That amendment alone is $16.5 million. As a district, we're facing that. I'm sure St. Paul is facing that because it's a large district. Why we're facing that? Because we see in transportation an increase of about 40 to 50%, which is a huge increase. In food services, the auditor mentioned it earlier, we have a declining enrollment, and we have reimbursements that we were getting over the past 2 years or so from the federal government that we don't have anymore, which means that there we have another $5 million. So if you combine those two, these are things that we don't have that much control over. In transportation, we know that we own 40% we have 40% of the share, and then 6% is provided by outside companies. So we're looking to flip that and try and save money in transportation, because transportation is an area that every year we put a lot of general fund dollars in just to maintain the services that we provide. And yet we do not have much control when we talk about 50% increase from one year to the other. As a district, and that's I think what I know that's what the pro-forma is trying to get at, we have a footprint, if I can use that is much bigger than the resources that we received. And I mentioned it today to some of my colleagues. The auditor sat here and talked about the audit as to how I take it to be an excellent audit, which says that we know how to manage our funds. The problem that we have are things that we don't have any control over in terms of cross-subsidy. We've been talking about, since I've been here 7 years now, we've been talking about making the special ed and ELL funding more adequate. We talked about making sure that the state formula takes into account inflation. We haven't seen that yet. Every year you can look at the per pupil allocation. It goes up from 5,300 or so to 6,800. Yes, if you look at that on an absolute way, you would see an increase. But if you look at it relatively to inflation, it's a decrease, and that's been the case for many years. I agree with you that there are certain things that we do that many other districts in the state don't do. And this is not typical to MPS or St. Paul. In the Council of Great City Schools, talking to my colleagues, they are all facing these things, these issues with special ed and ELL nationally.
And Senior Officer Giab, if I could add one more piece to that. I am absolutely fine with us looking different than other districts. I think that's what makes us special, right? Special school district number one. But when we do that, we need to make sure that we are aligning with our strategic plan, and we're prioritizing what is needed for our students, and also making sure that we are addressing the racial disparities for our students. Those three things, we as a central central office team are committed to going through in the next month. And so that alignment in that piece, not that we have to be like other districts, but we have to make sure that we are strategically focused, looking at race and equity, and also prioritizing what our students need. And we'll be doing that in the next month.
Director, thank you. Director Elamine.
Director Elamine.
Thank you, Chair.
Chair.
I think a lot of my questions as I sit here and just think about everything that's being said is really kind of unfolding itself. When I think about our district and the fact that we are 28,000 students, but we're still operating as if we have 48,000 students. So to me, again, it just clearly outlines the work that we have to do to make sure not only that our students and families are getting what they need, but that we are still remaining fiscally responsible as we're trying to do this. So the fact that MPS spends $3,900 more per pupil in the general operating, it doesn't settle well with me. I struggle with that because, again, the disparities that we face in our schools, the challenges that we are faced with in our schools, but yet again, we are still operating as if we're 40,000 plus. For me, as I sit here and just look at things, we really do have to just take a fine tooth and go through and see how do things align with our strategic plan. What are we ready and willing to do different? So that, like you said, if the numbers increase, we will still have this deficit if we don't change operation and what's happening. So for me, again, the picture is very clear that we have some decisions that need to be made, and that we can't continue to operate without making any changes, adjustments, not sacrificing our students' education, but making sure that we are making the best decision with what we have before us. So that is my ask. That is what I, as a board member, we have some work to do. We really have some tough decisions to make, and to really not compare ourselves to other districts, but to make sure that our families are getting what they need, and that we are really providing the services that we can as a district. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Surreal.
Director Surreal.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
You mentioned, I think it was Interim Superintendent Cox, if we were properly funded for special ed and ELL, we will have an additional of $70,000 million annually. Can you, how much of that comes from the state, and how much of that needs to come from the federal government? Thank you.
So the bulk of our special education funding comes from the state. They fund about 60% of our special education, and the federal government does not fund the other 40%, like they were going to. Yeah, for special education. I don't know on ELL, but I believe the majority of our funding comes from the state. I don't think we get any federal.
Yes, for ELL, it's coming from the state, and if you look at the grant going a year back, it was about 5 or 6 million, and we were adding about 14 to 15 million to make it adequate. And as Tom said, with the federal government, by 1975, the promise was that they will be participating or contributing up to 40%. And from 1975 to now, I don't think that the federal participation is above 10%.
So if the state did the right thing with this extra money that we have, there's some hope.
We hope that the education will take a priority. We know what lack of education can create in a country, so I hope that they know that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is really important, especially for community that are listening, so that we can actually do the right thing to be advocating for to fully fund education in our state. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
Director Jordan?
Director Jordan.
Thank you, Chair Ellison. Yeah,
Chair Ellison.
Yeah, that is kind of eye-opening. But I'll just cut to the chase and say, there's a lot of internal things that we need to do. First off, there's no scenario in which we can continue to operate with over 70 school sites with dwindling population. There's just no scenario we can do that. What is that going to entail? That's going to entail closing schools. We've tap danced around this issue long enough, right? Closing schools, consolidating sites. I haven't heard anyone talk about, I've been out, I was just asked about this at Tangletown Neighborhood Association. Parents said, well, what's going to happen now? Well, we're going to have to close sites. We're running deficits that are going to get larger and larger. And that's it. Unless someone has a financial plan written in crayon in the inside of a pizza box that'll get us out of this mess with maintaining the status quo, I would love to see it, but that's impossible. So that's what part of it's going to entail, but we can also streamline a bunch of our other services and yada, 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 that's fine. We can come out of this, but we have to do the hard, we do have to make hard choices. The state is not going to bail us out. We can talk about getting $65 million or $70 million. We can talk about our legislative agenda until the cows come home, right? But the problem is that just because we have control of the governor and the legislature does not mean we're going to get every single thing we ask. All you have to do is look at President Biden and a democratically controlled Congress. It only took 2 conservative Democrats to derail a lot of the stuff he did. Now we have some very fiscally conservative DFLers from rural Minnesota who may say that's spending a lot too much. My constituents, we want better investments in other areas. So you're not going to get $65 million. We're not going to index per pupil funding to inflation. You may just get the usual 2 or 3%. So what I'm trying to say is we shouldn't put all our eggs in one basket and say the state's going to do this, the state's going to do this. It's going to require hard choices on our end. And I'm not happy about it, at all. And I do recognize what everyone else is saying. We do, in these hard times, we still, no matter what, we still need to make sure that our students who require those supports and services continue to receive those supports and services. And I don't care where they go to school at. They need those supports. ELL, special education, home is highly mobile. We need to make sure that we shelter those students from the most serious cuts coming, because they are coming. And I think, we have to hit the ground running because 25 is right around the corner. This is something that's not going to, we need to think a couple generations ahead. Like in my culture, we always think of what's going on now, but we always think of future generations of students. Or in my community up in Red Lake, we always think of future generations, which is why Red Lake is a closed reservation. Everything's held in trust. So we'll always have our fishing rights for future generations. We'll always have our ceremonies and practices for future generations, not just for present day. And I think we need to apply that type of thinking to where we are now. So 10 years, 20 years from now, when nobody in this room is still here, that this district is still here educating our children from all walks of life. And taking care of staff from all walks of life. So this is something that's really, we have to hit the ground running. And I think we can. I really believe we can. If I didn't believe so, then I wouldn't be here. But I do recognize the fact that yes, population, that's the driving force. Wasn't the CDD. That had nothing to do with our declining birth rates.
declining birth
And
rates.
for people to say that, and I voted against the CD, I was not a fan of it, but that's not the problem. The problem is declining birth rate, for one. We're talking gentrification, rapid gentrification, all across the city. I see it in my own neighborhood. Of losing our families to the suburbs because they can no longer afford to live here. So there are major issues that we need to overcome moving forward from tonight. Excuse me. So I think, moving forward, we have to be cognizant of the fact that some of this stuff we have to handle on our own. We can't depend on the state. Whatever we get from the state, yes, we can have budget amendments. We've done that before, and whatnot. But I mean, you guys are in a very unenviable position by far. So I do appreciate the presentation, and I think one thing may I suggest is that back in 2015, back when I was just a regular parent, then Interim Superintendent Michael Gore, I believe Chief Diop was brand new to the district, et cetera, and other staff, went all over the district. I think they used to be called area meetings back then, and they went to different sites across the city. And they said, this is what's going on with our budget. This is how we develop our budget. This is what we spend it on, and this is where we're going. I attended the meeting at Ann Sullivan Communication Center, or whatever it was called back then. I sat next to Jim Dabney, former State Rep Jim Dabney, who was also at that time a fellow South High School parent. And a lot of the information was really brand new to me, how the structure was being, had changed, et cetera, et cetera. We need to do that with our budget pro forma. We need to go out to communities and say, this is where we are at right now. No games, no nothing. I mean, people can watch us, they can stream this, cool, fine, I get it. But, I mean, we need to go out there in the community, and we need to meet people where they are. They're not here in the Davis Center tonight. They're at home taking care of their kids. They're getting ready to go to their second job. We have teachers up till 4 in the morning doing papers. They want to know where they stand. We have building engineers that are working overnights. I mean, people need to know. We need to go to where they are. Seriously, we really do. And I think that's something that we should consider, is going out to different sites across the city with our pro forma and our preliminary budget that you guys presented as well. And just explain to people, this is where we are. This is what we're going to do, and this is how we're going to include you in the conversation moving forward. Because I think sometimes we include all of us in this room, my coworkers as well. Sometimes we, I don't know. I'm not going to say anything more than lost my train of thought. But I think moving forward, it is a all hands on deck predicament that we are in. So thank you.
Thank you. Director Ali.
Say that again, ma'am.
Director Ali.
Thank you.
The light won't come on. The light's not working, but your mic is.
Ocho. Lúc tính cho tới she cái lúc microphone
Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
And I want to thank the finance team for your presentation. There's a lot of issues that we need to work on it. As our state now, we have over 17 billion surplus, and I do believe that it's about the time that our state legislators and the government must fund education, fully fund our public education, and I think that's not happening. As now the Democratic Party or DFL controls the majority of the House and the Senate, and the governance of
control the majority in the Senate.
I don't believe they have or will have any excuse of not funding our public education. And I believe it's about the time. In terms of and we have to collectively reach out to our legislators, do our best to make sure that they represent us well. Minneapolis Public Schools
Minneapolis Public Schools
funded education. Same thing as also other public schools.
Public schools.
In terms of the declining of the enrollments, the question is that as we move forward, what are the strategies in place that we can retain our students? Do you foresee also that the decline of the students will continue? What do you see? How do you see what the future looks like? In other words,
so our projection assumes that the trend will continue that we've seen for the last 5 years. And the reason why we went with that assumption in the pro forma was because we don't have any reason to believe otherwise.
All right, thank you. Thank you, staff. This was important, sobering information we're receiving, but I think it's very important that the board, our community, understand. And our pro forma is a projection of what's happening, what's going on. Like you said, you're not making suggestions, you're just like, here it is. And if we continue as we've been going, this is where we're headed. And I think, to your point, Director Jordan, the state may give us more money, huge money that the state has right now. That would be one time. We can't count on that year after year after year. It was interesting as I looked at the number of high schools, and I know we're special, and so we don't want to compare very much, but we have as many high schools as Anoka, Hennepin, and St. Paul combined. Both districts larger than us. And why? Well, I've heard from our community saying that small schools, small class sizes, small teacher to student ratio is important. Well, we need to go out to community and say, well, this is the impact of that. So yes, let's go out, talk to community. We've got a lot of work to do. We've got a short amount of time to do it in. But this is information that we need to know as we move into our budget season, which is starting now. So thank you. Thank you very much. Next is our Policy Committee report. Policy Committee Chair Inns. Please go ahead with committee's report.
All right, thank you, Chair Ellison. Do we need to do anything here?
No.
Something happening?
Can I be heard?
You can be heard.
All right. Thank you, Chair Ellison. The Policy Committee has referred one policy item to the board tonight for a first reading, which is a proposal to repeal policy 7420. Does anybody know what policy 7420 is? That is a policy on bonded indebtedness. On regular review, this policy was identified as redundant and unnecessary as its provisions are already included elsewhere in both state law and MPS policy. The committee recommends it be repealed. At our November meeting, which was the final one of the year, the committee also took time to discuss some recommendations that we share with the 2023 committee. It was a robust discussion with some excellent recommendations. That concludes the Policy Committee report, Chair Ellison.
Thank you. Directors, are there any questions? Seeing none, we will see that item on our agenda for vote next month. Next, we're going to move to action items. We will first begin with the consent agenda. Reminder, the consent agenda includes routine items that do not involve major policy, budget, or tax decisions, bond awards, or items related to the superintendent's contract or evaluation. Director Caprini, will you please move approval of this item?
So moved.
Can I get a second? Second. Approval of the consent agenda has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. That motion carries and the consent agenda is approved. Next is a resolution certifying the final property tax levies, which is labeled as Resolution 2022-70. Director Caprini, can I please get an approval of this?
So moved.
Thank you. Approval of the resolution certifying the property tax levy has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. That motion carries and the item is approved. Next is also a finance-related item. It's a budget amendment labeled as Resolution 2022-71. This item, which was referred and recommended by the Finance Committee, makes needed adjustments to account for increased transportation and food service expenses like we heard tonight. Director Caprini, can I please get a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Approval of Resolution 2022-71, amending the district's budget has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. That motion carries and the item is approved. Next are two policy-related items, both of which had first readings at last month's meeting. Both items were referred and recommended by the Policy Committee. The first policy item is a revision to Policy 3290, which would increase the allowable debt service level from 15% of the district total operating revenue to 20%. Director Inns, can I please get a motion?
So moved.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Approval of Resolution 2022-60, revising Policy 3290 has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. That motion carries and the item is approved. The next policy item is a revision of Policy 6682 on emergency health care and an adoption of Policy 6693 on DNR/DNI orders. Director Inns, can I please get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Approval of Resolution 2022-61, revising Policy 6682 and adopting Policy 6693 has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. Thank you. That motion carries and the item is approved. The next item is Resolution 2022-74, which changes the start and end times of several high schools, as we discussed last month, and directs the superintendent to provide update on career and technical education programming implementation. Director Arneson, can I please get a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
Thank you. Approval of Resolution 2022-74. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. That motion carries and the item is approved. Our final action item is approval of the district's legislative agenda, which is labeled as Resolution 2022-73. Director Ali, can I please get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second. Thank you. Approval of Resolution 2022-73 has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. That motion carries and the item is approved. Our last agenda is to say farewell to those board members and student representatives who will be leaving the board at the end of this month and for whom this is their last meeting. We'll first now offer the opportunity for each of you to make any departing remarks, and then Interim Superintendent Cox and I have a little recognition we'd like to present to you. Later, after we adjourn, I hope everyone can stick around so we can take a few photos together. But first, Student Representative Austin, would you please join us up here on the dais? Interim Superintendent Cox would graciously like to switch spaces with you so you can finish your final meeting up here with us. Thank you. Directors and student representatives will do like we always do. Please state your request to speak one last time if you'd like to say something, and I'll call for the order.
I request Ryan to take a picture as we all
We will take pictures after. Ryan, can you take a picture of the dais? Thank you.
Ryan,
You see me, my friend?
Okay, thank Thank you. Director Booker.
Director Booker.
Well, I want to start by just saying, as a Washburn graduate and a former North High staff, it's been an honor and privilege for me to serve on this board. I really appreciate you guys appointing me to the board, and I continue to be impressed and overwhelmed by the administrative support as well as my peers. At times, the last 6 months has been both challenging and rewarding. So although my journey was short, I am thankful for the experience, and it is time for me to return to the sidelines to cheer on the present, future leaders of the board. And thank you everyone for really welcoming me and making me feel a part of the team right away. Thanks again.
If you would like to speak, you can request to speak button. Director Inns.
Director Inns.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
It's been an eventful 8 years for me on the board of being a public school teacher and a parent of kids in Minneapolis Public Schools. It's also been a unique honor and privilege to serve the children and families of Minneapolis and the voters of District 5 on the school board. Every day of the last 8 years, I was really fortunate to work with children in my job, and I was also able to connect with families, staff, students in schools through my children, through my neighbors, and through my position here on the board of directors at MPS. And when times got tough, it was those connections and those relationships and our collective beliefs in the power of public schools that kept me going. So I want to say thank you to all those who supported me in my time on the board. All of us believe in public schools, and we believe in their power to bring about a more just society. We believe that each day, every child, when they walk through the doors of a public school, they should get the best that we can give them. So that can be hard in any public school, but in Minneapolis Public Schools, where we have incredibly diverse community with incredibly diverse needs and wants, it's an even more challenging task. We live in a city where we have enormous privilege and wealth right alongside extreme poverty. We have mansions along the lakes within view of homeless encampments, and the children that live in both those places sometimes go to school in the same classrooms. We have dozens of languages spoken. We have nearly every federal classification of special education need addressed in our district, and it's a challenging task to govern and lead this district for sure. It can be messy. And sometimes, believe it or not, people are not happy with the decisions that we make. But I think it's because of those challenges that we face, and not despite them, that many of us do this work. Public schools are the rare institution that takes on challenges that are essential to face in a functional democracy. We don't hide from our collective differences here. We grapple with them. We acknowledge racism as a fact. We don't challenge gender identities. We provide services for special education and EL students regardless of their level of need. So when times get tough, and there are plenty of times that were tough over the last 8 years, it's important that we continue to remind ourselves that this work is noble and it matters, not just for the individual families and children of our schools, but for our collective well-being as a democratic community. So when I first ran for school board, people often asked me, why would you want to do that? And if I'm being completely honest, there were days I sometimes wondered why I did it. But if I'm also being honest, I have to say I'm going to be kind of sad that I won't be able to fight the battle for a more just world anymore through my position here as a school board member. I'm still going to be a public school teacher, though, and I'm still going to be a parent of children in our public schools. And the work of public schools and all its challenges is too important for me to stop working and fighting for. I don't think I'll be coming to board meetings anytime soon. kind of excited to see what else is going on Tuesday nights in Minneapolis. But I do want to say thanks to all the voters and people who gave me this incredible opportunity and supported me in making the difference of the lives of so many people. So thank you.
Next speakers, hit your request to speak button. Thank you, Student Representative Wesson.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to say it's really been unbelievable to realize that it's already been a year since I received the honor to serve on this role. Serving on the board has taught me a lot and has definitely been the highlight of my high school experience. This would have not been possible without support and insight from many people. I'd like to thank past Student Rep Kennedy and current Student Rep Kong for partnering with me in this role. I truly don't know how it would be possible without you both alongside me. A huge shout out to Ryan, who I'm pretty sure has memorized every last thing about the district and basically is a district encyclopedia. With you living conveniently really close to me, I hope it's okay to knock on your door whenever I have questions about MPS. Thank you to the board, Interim Superintendent Rochelle Cox, and previous Superintendent Ed Graff, who trusted me to serve and for being open and honest with my questions and requests throughout this year. Thank you to my teachers, specifically Mr. Yersa and the principal Dr. Palmer at Washburn, who has always been provided important guidance and knowledge. A big thanks to all the many MPS staff and cabinet team who have welcomed me with open arms and given me unforgettable opportunities and experiences, and have welcomed my voice at the table. And last but certainly not least, thank you to the students of Minneapolis Public Schools, as well as citywide, and their present advisors, Jenny, Janae, Sophie, Jason, and past advisor Maring, who are all supporting me. These are challenging times for Minneapolis Public Schools, and the decisions made today, tomorrow, and into the future are going to fundamentally change where the district heads in the future. I think it's incredibly important that we ensure the district is restored to a place of true excellence where students can become the best versions of themselves. One thing I ask is to remember to be transparent, open, and flexible. I might be a little biased, but also involve students in that process. The discussions and decisions that happen in this very building have a far-reaching impact in your schools, our students, families, and the communities they live in. And after witnessing last year, nothing boils over faster than if you ignore it. Yet, I've personally seen the terrific efforts of the board administrative staff at work, but all I ask is for this idea to be kept at the forefront during these critically important decisions. I look forward to the future with hope. I've been a proud MPS student pretty much my entire life, and I always will be a proud MPS student. I graduate in less than 2 years, but I will be always rooting from the sidelines. Thanks again for this great opportunity, and best of luck in the years ahead.
Student Representative Austin.
Thank you very much. I'm a little nervous following that up. I've been in Minneapolis Public Schools my entire life. It's a huge honor, and I'm really happy that I got the chance to be in this position and be surrounded by so many amazing role models and people, both on the board and both in the seats. It's really amazing to see the dedication that people have, not just for the city, but for the students. You know what I mean? Like, we have people that come in here every day. We have people that spend like night and day thinking about what would be the best for me, you know what I mean, as a student, as a student representative. So many things here that I feel like will carry on my entire life, that people are people with their own lives and stories and perspectives on the same matters. And it's important that everybody gets a chance to speak and everybody gets a chance to vote. And I'm so happy that I got into this position, and I'm so happy that all of you are here and all of you that care for the city and for education. It's really weird because a lot of people feel today and tonight is kind of the sun setting for them and kind of the end of a big cycle. And for me, it kind of feels like just the beginning of a new cycle. So thank you all for being here with me today.
Thank you. Director Caprini?
All right, get out your tissue. No, just kidding. So first I want to acknowledge my family. When I thought about running for school board, my husband told me to do what I needed to do to ensure that my children would get a better education. He has always been supportive of my work, and I thank him for trusting me and supporting me. Secondly, my daughters. My daughters are smarter than I could ever imagine. I'm grateful for their trust, support, and patience throughout my career and advocating for public education. Thank you for being my brightest light in my life. In this work, I was able to live out my dreams of not being afraid to share my lived experiences, to share what I didn't know, and ask questions to better understand how things work. I am proud. I always stay true to my values by keeping focus on our children. I will always believe in the potential of all of our students, no matter where they live, how they live, or who they live with. I believe it is our responsibility to prioritize all of our students' academic experiences and opportunities. This means providing every single student in every neighborhood access to a strong academic programming and enrichment opportunities. We all know those days were decades ago, when we were able to provide those opportunities. But then things took a drastic turn for the worst, and we looked away as if the decisions we needed to make didn't really matter, because the future was so far in the distance. We didn't need to prepare for anything. Over the last 20 years, we have openly ignored changes to our city that have affected our schools and our neighborhoods. I once told an MPS leader in 2014-15 that I felt like MPS was holding a beach ball in a pool of water. And every year, another person would jump in and push that pool down and hold it down in the water even longer. Today we have more people holding down that beach ball, and yet the water continues to rise, and the ball can no longer be held down. The board is responsible for ensuring the long-term financial health of our district. Over the last 7 years, MPS has been fortunate to have a senior financial officer that has never shied away from speaking to our financial downfalls and finding ways to balance the budget that many districts across this country may not have had the capacity to be able to do. For the future, there must be a willingness to make difficult decisions, collaborate with those you may not agree with, and accept a plan or an idea if it wasn't yours, but it needs to be chosen. Remember that none of this is about you or me. It is about our children and about our future. As important as it is to hire a new superintendent, I would hope that Minneapolis Public School administrators would begin to create a presentation that discusses school closure. Whether you like it or not, it is inevitable. Every district can do it. Our district can do it, or the state will. The latter doesn't sound good for neighborhoods that have already been negatively impacted in the past. My work has never been about changing history. It's been about doing better because of our history. When we make education more relevant, students see themselves in their work, which leads to stronger academic outcomes. Resiliency is, and I quote, the ability to navigate through adversity, to effectively adapt to change and thrive. For me, it also means to cultivate a sense of calm, clarity, and stability. Even when things are stressful and overwhelming. Without a greater balance achieving this than so many adults. Now, settling down, I need a little shout out. If I don't mention your name, it's not because you did not impact my time here on the school board. I Dream TV. I am at a loss for words. I have taken to watching school board meetings in surrounding cities and states. No production company compares to TV. Ian Paul, I adore you and your staff. Ryan Stratt and Jennifer Lindquist. Thank you for your patience and support. Your ability to be in the epicenter of all of this inside and outside the Davis is not only impressive, but truly appreciated. Your work and kindness to me has been amazing. You've helped me learn my way around my role. And I want to say thank you to both of you. Lastly, today is my sister, Olivia's. Would have been her 62nd birthday. And I just wanted to say happy heavenly birthday to her. And for sure the last thing, thank you to Minneapolis Public Schools. Thank you to the city of Minneapolis and all of the people that have supported me throughout my tenure. I leave here today so proud of me. I leave here with sheer gratitude. And I'm not going to go away because I care so much about the city and this district. And I know we can get it right. So with that, I say thank you. And good night. No, I'm really leaving. No, just kidding.
Director Ali.
Director Ali.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
It has been an honor to serve
Minneapolis Public School Board
for the past 8 years. With the help of God, I did my best. All the decisions I made here based on what's good for children. I have no regrets. I'm grateful and I'm thankful to God for giving me this opportunity to represent the children of Public Schools. I do believe we made big difference. I made big difference with my fellow board members. We increased the graduation rate for students of color. We launched many programs, including the Somali language K-12 pathway. We supported a great schools, all schools, including Heritage School and Wellstone. Both schools are close to my heart and are great schools. We advocated, I advocated EL students, students with special needs. And I want to say, as we move forward, that the current board members and incoming board members, they can continue to make sure that ELL students and special education, children with special needs, have a big voice here. I want to thank my beloved family My beloved family, I want to thank. I want to thank my wife, who are always there for me, and my children, who understand that and they gave me opportunity also to serve other students. I want to thank people who elected me, who had a faith in me, and I want to thank them for their continued support. I want to thank MPS staff, all MPS staff, teachers, for your service, public service, for serving children of Minneapolis Public Schools. And I also want to thank my beloved Somali American community. And I want to say that thank you for seeing me as your leader, and I do believe that I meet your expectations. Finally, I want to thank Superintendent Cox, Rochelle Cox, the all senior leaders. A special thanks to Ibrahima. I want to thank Ryan and Jennifer for really supporting me to be an effective leader here. Without your individual support and contributions, I would have not done this great work here. So sincerely, I want to thank you. I want to thank Principal Lucini, Dr. Daka Hussein, Mr. Muhyiddin Warfa. I want to thank Eric Moore. I want to thank you also Amy Moore. I have a lot of people to thank, frankly speaking. And if I don't mention your name, does not mean that I don't recognize you. All of you are close to my heart. As I am moving forward, as I said, all decisions I made here, I made to the best of my knowledge and ability. If any case and any time you felt that I offended you, please forgive me. I'm a human being, and I want to make sure that as we move forward, that we continue our friendship. And finally, thank you, all of you, my fellow board members. All of you are special people to work with. I know that many times we disagree each other on many issues, but you know, we always respect one another, and I want to say that from the bottom of my heart. Thank you very much, all of you. Thank you very much, sincerely, from the bottom of my heart. May God bless all of you. May God bless the United States of America. As I'm saying this conclusion, the United States of America. I'm not going to run another office again. But may God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for everyone for speaking. I just want to start by acknowledging and thanking my family. I think right now they're making up about 50% of the audience who's remaining here. I've got my parents here and my twin sisters Sarah and my husband Patrick, and I know my sister Mandy, who's an MPS teacher, is watching at home as well. And I have a brother as well who's an MPS parent. So over the past 12 years, I've been in board meetings in the old 807 building and the current Davis Center. I've been on the first floor and the fifth floor. I've been in my house. There have been tornado watches and snow advisories. We recorded a song once together at a board meeting. I think we probably had to notice that one. We were never asked to do that again, just the one time. I've even attended meetings fresh off cancer treatment and a stem cell transplant. I've served with 5 different superintendents and 21 different board members. At this point, I could write my own version of Billy Joel's We Didn't Start the Fire. I feel like the grandmother in this room, even though I'm not even 50, except now I need reading glasses, so that's fitting. As I look around the room, staff and board members, you're all leaders in education, and I have nothing but respect for your work and for your dedication. It's been my honor to work with you. Yet so few faces are the same as the day I started. Sadly, I've been the elder for at least half my term, because 12 years in education leadership is a lifetime. We could talk endlessly about the things our district needs here tonight. And with 33.5 years of experience here on the dais, leading here tonight, there'd be no shortage of ideas. But don't worry, I won't take all night. 1 hour should be enough. Just kidding. But I would like to take just a moment, to share my observations about what public education needs from the leaders who are serving, and what those leaders need from the public they serve. Our district needs people willing to lead. I'm not going to say that they need to be willing to make tough decisions or be brave. That's just trite and obvious. My problem with that description is that it suggests that there is just one critical moment. It oversimplifies the issues, and it might even lead one to believe that making one tough call will somehow prevent another critical moment that leads to yet another tough call or another. Rather, we need leaders willing to take personal risk and guide public education through a critical juncture of transition, despite increasing public skepticism and cynicism. And it's not one leader that's needed, it's many, and it's every day. Despite the headlines, this isn't a new or sudden transition. We've seen this fork in the road for miles, and if we're being honest, it's more of a slow bend in the road than a sharp turn, and we are passing the same scenery over and over again. Some of it follows a predictable pattern of demographics and attitudes about urban centers. Some of it is policy and funding decisions catching up to us. Some of it is reckoning with race and class and schools. And some of it is the side effect of things happening in our world outside of schools. Our city, our state, and our world have complex problems. And yet I believe there's endless potential. And the city and our children, the children in our city are worth it. So be leaders despite the risk. And the public should recognize that leaders take risks when they go first and share their ideas and invite dialogue, the engagement we say we want. When I was a kid, the people in the front row of the flume got a whole lot wetter than the people in the middle, or those who ducked. It's hard to risk failure. It's even harder in this very public era because there are people in this world who confuse throwing stones with being a leader. After listening to approximately 10,560 minutes of public comments during my tenure, and yes, I did the math, I say that only offering commentary about other people leading isn't actual leadership, nor does it inspire stronger leadership from others. So go beyond burning someone on social media or insulting them in a public comment. Don't confuse bravery with bullying. Furthermore, trying to prove that you are the smartest person in the room rarely impresses anyone, and it won't make you more relevant. So instead, future leaders, gather your courage and find a way to engage in productive dialogue and problem solving. We need leaders in every space. They guide change in every setting, with or without titles. You will have to give things up to be a leader. And your family or the people close to you, they may get hurt. Mine was. It can be hard to forgive the people who hurt those you love. But do it anyway, because we can all be leaders. We can all unite around our students and their future, for our city's future, for public education's future. As the band One Republic said, I hope if everybody runs, you choose to stay. Thank you for these 12 years.
Thank you, everybody. Those are beautiful words. And as I collect my thoughts, Interim Superintendent Cox, would you like to say a few words?
I
absolutely would, and I have a few moments. So first I'd like to call down Student Representative Austin and Weston.
Superintendent Austin and Weston, Lahona.
You two have brought such joy to my time as interim superintendent. I appreciate all that you've done to lift up student voice here in a very important room where oftentimes we don't hear student voice. And that takes a lot of time, takes a lot of engagement, and you both have done such an amazing job of not only bringing your own voice, but also the voice of your other students. So on behalf of the board, I'd like to give you a certificate and a note of thanks from all of them. We appreciate all you do and we can't wait to see you both and see what you do. We know you're going to do great things, and hopefully you'll be back in this boardroom again, maybe making round 2 up there. All right? All right. Thank you so much. All right, and now Ryan is going to help me. Yes, because these are very heavy. Who knew that? But they are, as we go up. So we are giving each of our outgoing board members a plaque, thanking them for their time and many years of service. I've had the opportunity to work with all of you, not only in this role, but in other roles at MPS. There really aren't any words to honor your service. You have been steadfast, you've been engaged, you've been learners, and you've also been leaders. And for that, I'm extremely grateful. I'm grateful for the faith you had in me to lead us through this transition year. I hope I continue to do you proud as you watch from wherever your next point of view on Tuesday night is. But anyway, we just want to say thank you to all of you for your service and how much we appreciate you. And I know that I say that on behalf of all the staff also. So thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, Jake, Wakan, Cindy, Siad, Nelson, Kimberly, Jenny. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. I cannot adequately express what your service and your commitment has meant to our district and our community, and I certainly cannot sufficiently convey my personal gratitude for our partnerships and friendships. We've been through a lot as a team and as individuals. In this past last year, and over the past 4, 8, and 12 years, we've had some incredible joys and some incomprehensible challenges. We've taken bold action, made difficult decisions, had some fun, and we've spent countless hours and late nights in this very room. We've done these things together, supporting one another and pushing each other. You've each helped me grow and be a better director and person. I've never said goodbye my years on the board to this many people at once, and I will deeply miss each one of you. You've each made an everlasting impact on our students, schools, and communities, and you have embodied the best of public service. On behalf of the board, thank you. If everyone could please join me in thanking and recognizing our outgoing board members and student representatives. All right, thanks. That concludes our agenda for this evening and our final meeting for the 2022 board. The next meeting of the board will be the annual organizational meeting, which will be held at 6 p.m. on January 3rd, 2023. This organizational meeting will follow an oath of office ceremony for the incoming board directors, which will take place the same day at 5 p.m. here in the boardroom. Finally, please look for communication over the coming weeks on next steps in the superintendent search engagement process. An online survey will open soon for sharing feedback, and dates and times of community listening sessions will soon also be shared. Directors, remember to please stay around for a few photos. After we're done here, without objection, I will now adjourn this meeting. Good night.